And the desolate land shall be tilled, whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that passed by. And they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden.
Meanwhile, the Arabs were also cultivating their gardens.
Czechoslovak arms supply for Egypt. After refusal by the Western countries to supply arms to Egypt on acceptable terms, Colonel Nasser has made a deal with Czechoslovakia on a purely commercial basis, with no strings attached. London and Washington say that the arms deal means the infiltration of Russian influence into Egypt and the Middle East. Oh, what rubbish. There is absolutely no question of Soviet military technicians coming to train the Egyptian army in the use of the new weapons. Nor will Egyptians be sent to military colleges in Prague and Moscow. We want arms for peace, not for war.
March 11, 1956. The Security Council hears Israel's protest against Egyptian troop concentrations on her borders and 180 acts of aggression in 3 months from the Gaza Strip by Fedayeen guerrillas.
April 11th, Voice of Cairo. There is no reason why the Fedayeen who hate their enemies should not penetrate deep into Israel and turn the lives of her people into a living hell.
The Voice of Dayan.
This country will not be turned into a living hell, and the Egyptian assassins and their masters will not go unpunished.
October 29. The Sinai campaign begins. In 100 hours, the entire Sinai Peninsula up to the ultimatum line was occupied by Israel.
November 16th. In view of international pressure, Prime Minister Ben-Gurion announces the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Sinai.
The Sinai campaign is over, and still the Arab states deny the existence of Israel.
May 11th, 1960. Letters of the Jewish leader Bar Kokhba, who led the final revolt against the Romans in the 2nd century, have been discovered in the Judean desert. The spirit of Bar Kokhba, that of resistance to the last against the massive powers of tyranny, lives again in Israel today.
An Israeli army general, who is also a professor of archaeology, Yigal Yadin, uncovers the magnificent and terrifying secrets of Masada, a great rock in the wilderness of Judea, its walls rising vertically for 1,300 feet from the shores of the Dead Sea.
Herod built a wall round about the entire top of the hill, 7 furlongs long. Its height was 12 and its breadth 8 cubits. There was also erected upon that wall 38 towers, each of them 50 cubits high.
The Roman Jew Flavius Josephus tells the story of Masada.
Herod himself died a painful but natural death. The Jews did not rise in revolt for another 70 years. Then they massacred Masada's Roman garrison and made it their last point of resistance when the rebellion failed and the legions sacked Jerusalem. Then came the stunning tragedy of Masada. The Roman 10th Legion, using an estimated 9,000 slaves, built a gigantic ramp against the western side of the rock, where the cliffs are only 400 feet high. Then Eleazar, the leader of the 967 Jews on the rock, looked down upon their doom. The ramp was finished. It was clear to the defenders that they could hold out no longer. Then came the appeal of Eleazar ben Yair to his comrades that they should die by their own hands rather than submit to servitude.
A man will see his wife violently carried off. He will hear the voice of his children crying when his own hands are fettered. Come, our hands are now free and can hold a sword. Let them do a noble service. Let us die unenslaved by our enemies and leave this world as free men in the company of our wives and children.
So the husbands tenderly embraced their wives and took their children into their arms and gave their longest parting kisses to them. with tears in their eyes. Yet at the same time did they complete what they had resolved on.
They chose 10 men by lot to slay all the rest, every one of whom laid himself down by his wife and children on the ground, and threw his arms about them, and they offered their necks to the stroke of those who by lot executed that melancholy office. And when those 10 had, without fear, slain them all, they made the same rule for casting lots for themselves, that he whose lot it was to first kill the other 9 should after kill himself.
Let me tell you a story of bravery and glory in 73 AD. Masada's fight against the Roman might, brave men with iron will, defending the fortress upon the hill. Masada, Masada shall not fall again. Masada, Masada shall not fall again. Defended as Roman troops ascended, defended right to the end. But starving and weak, they couldn't hold their peak from that final attack. Masada's defenses began to crack. Masada, Masada shall not fall again. Masada, Masada shall not fall again. Masada was falling, Ben-Yai the chief was calling, come make the great sacrifice. Go dig your own graves, we'll not be Roman slaves, die by your own brave hand, rather than live in a conquered land. Masada, Masada shall not fall again. Masada, Masada shall not fall again. So they didn't surrender, instead each brave defender cut short his life to be free. And now on that hill, the memory shining still, like a beacon of light, showing might never conquered right. Masada, Masada shall not fall again. Masada, Masada shall not fall again. Masada, Masada shall not fall again. Masada, Masada shall not